Okay, so I'm late to this. I know. Deltarune dropped years ago. Everyone talked about it, streamed it, dissected every frame, and just put wild theories on the internet.
As real dust theory and friend inside me.
And me? I just sat back and watched it all happen. I've seen more playthroughs than I can count. I even memorized Queen's serial number. Q5, U4, EX, 7YY, 2E9N. But somehow, I never actually played it myself. I don't even have a good reason why. Maybe I just thought I missed the boat and I was already too late. But with Chapter 3 and 4 releasing on June 4th of this year, so just a few days from now, I think now is probably the best time to play it, and maybe even review it. So in this video, I will be giving my thoughts on this game and also just my experience with it. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you like this video, because I will try to actually just put out more reviews on games I like. So, let's get going. But before we start this review, let's maybe start where it all began. Deltarune is the creation of Toby Fox and Tammy Chang, best known as the core team behind Undertale, the 2015 indie game that completely changed the landscape of storytelling in games. Undertale was weird, it was emotional, funny, it was deeply personal and experimental in a way. And it worked. I mean, of course it worked. I'm making a video about it. But here's something most people don't know. Toby actually had the idea for Deltarune before he even started with Undertale. That's right, according to Toby, the ending of Deltarune came to him in a dream. The challenge was figuring out how to build a game around it. So while Undertale came out first, Deltarune was already alive in his mind. Now Deltarune is often called a sequel, but it's not a sequel. Literally, the teaser trailer for Chapter 3 and 4 say it's not a sequel at all. Another key difference was that Undertale was mostly made by just Toby and Tammy. Deltarune, on the other hand, is made with an intensive team. So now that we know where it came from and what it aims to be, let's talk about what it's actually like to play it. Starting with Chapter 1. The game opens up with you creating a vessel, choosing its blood type, its personality, and even its name. But almost immediately, the game tosses it aside with one unforgettable line. No one can choose who they are in this world. That single sentence sets the tone for everything that follows. You wake up as Chris, a silent, withdrawn kid living with Toriel. Almost immediately, you're wondering who the fuck Chris is, what the relationship with everyone around him is, and why Toriel is here. Then when you go to school, then Susie shows up. Big, intimidating, each chalk threatens you, and then you both fall into a supply closet that turns into an endless void. Typical school stuff. This is where the game really begins. Welcome to the Dark World. You meet Ralsei, a soft-spoken, sweet, and self-proclaimed prince. Then comes Lancer, another iconic character. The quote-unquote villain of the game, riding on a bike, delivering terrible villain speeches, and trying way too hard to be scary. The role of Chris and Susie and Ralsei are made pretty clear in the beginning. There exists these dark fountains, who will cause an unbalance between the light and the dark world. We have the power to seal these fountains, and that is the entire idea of the game. Each chapter will most likely be us just sealing a fountain,
And that is the basics of the game.
From here, the story transforms into a journey through a whimsical, dangerous land filled with puzzles, joke, and of course, bullet hell combat. Chris may be the protagonist, but Susie and Lancer own Chapter 1. Susie starts as the classic school bully. Angry, impulsive, violent, she makes it clear she wants nothing to do with you or your friendship. But once you both fall into the dark world, you quickly realize that Susie isn't really evil. She's just isolated, hurt, and used to solving problems with brute force, because that's all anyone ever expected from her. Everyone seems afraid of her, no one really tries to understand her, and that pain seeps into everything she does. Lance, on the other hand, is introduced as a goofy mini-boss. He is ridiculous, chaotic, and charmingly bad at being evil, but his relationship with Susie becomes the emotional heart of the chapter. They bond over being weird and unwanted. He thinks Susie is cool. She finally finds someone who doesn't treat her like a threat. The bad guy team-up sequence between them is one of the best moments in the game, to be honest. Later on, Lance betrays her and everyone else to protect his dad, King. Susie, however, is obviously mad. She lashes out, but she does eventually forgive him. By the end of chapter 1, Susie has transformed into not a nice person, but into someone who wants to connect. The arc is honest, messy, and incredibly human. The main antagonist of chapter 1 is King, Lance's father, and he's fine. Design-wise, he's intimidating. His boss battle is flashy, with sweeping attacks and heavy bullet patterns. But narratively, he's mostly there to serve as an obstacle. He's angry, controlling, and clings power out of fear. What makes him interesting is how he mirrors Susie. Both were treated like villains, both became what others expected of them. While Susie starts to open up to Lancer, King doubles down. He refuses connection. He sees betrayal everywhere, and in doing so, he isolates himself further. Still, his character sadly lacks nuance, especially compared to others in the series.
This Jello is pissing me off. I'm the original STARWALKER.
And the way he's defeated is a bit abrupt. The Dark World citizens just kind of dogpile him and toss him out like it's a Looney Tunes short. It's funny, but a bit anticlimactic. That said, he returns in chapter 2 with a softer, more humorous tone, so maybe that was the entire idea. Gameplay-wise, Deltarune takes what Undertale built and levels it up. You still dodge enemy attacks in bullet hell fashion, but now you have control of a full party. Usually Chris, Susie, and Ralsei, each with unique strengths. Chris is a strategist and able to act and lead. Susie is the tank of the group and in chapter 1 will attack enemies without you wanting her to attack them. Ralsei is a healer and mage. Deltarune introduces TP, also known as tension points, a new resource that charges as you defend or graze attacks. TP powers spells, healing, and special moves. Enemies now appear on the overworld. You can engage or avoid them, so no random encounters, which is something a lot of people really enjoyed since a lot of people just hate random encounters. And when fighting, you still have a choice, fight or spare. But unlike Undertale, fighting actually doesn't kill. Enemies flee when beaten. But still, Deltarune feels more polished and more ambitious than Undertale. Undertale's gameplay was just enough for what it was, while Deltarune's gameplay is actually great. Wait a minute. Ah yes, Shovel. If you collect 3 hidden keys, you can unlock a door deep in the basement. Behind it awaits Shovel, Deltarune, first secret boss. And he is chaos incarnate, holy shit. His fight is fast, unpredictable, and visually overwhelming. It's one of the toughest battles in the game, and it's completely optional too. Shovel also introduces a big idea, that madness exists in the world, that not everything here is understandable or explainable. Similarly to King, Shovel references someone called the Knight, the figure responsible for creating the Dark Fountain. Narratively, Shovel doesn't tie into the main plot much, but thematically, he does set up the tone for what's to come. So I think that's enough. Deltarune Chapter 1 isn't trying to be a masterpiece. It's trying to start something. It gives us the taste of the characters, the world, the mechanics, and the mysteries. It's funny, emotional, and just a little unsettling. But it's clearly the prologue to a much bigger story. After you leave the Dark World, you return home. Chris and Susie are kind of friends now, and you go to sleep. And then... that's cutscene. Chris gets out of bed. And before chapter 2 dropped, Furies exploded. People thought Chris would go on a killing spree. People thought it was the start of a dark genocide style path, because of course the second chapter of a game would instantly escalate into madness. But then, chapter 2 came out. And well, The knife was just for eating pie. You know what? No, I have to give him credit. That's actually genius. Chapter 2 kicks things off in the light world again. But this time, after class, you and Susie go back to Castletown. After you leave and go to the computer lab to learn with Bertley and Noelle, you enter the new dark world. Cyber world. This place is electric, literally. It's all neon lights, circuits, data streams. Visually and thematically, it's a major shift from the card game medieval vibes of Chapter 1. Everything about Chapter 2 feels more polished, and the new environments are bursting with details. You can tell Toby and the team took everything they learned from Chapter 1 and leveled it up. Not to say Chapter 1 was even bad in these aspects, but somehow Chapter 2 is just better. From the moment you enter Cyberworld, Queen becomes the undeniable star of the chapter. Her personality is a bizarre cocktail of internet humor and deep, almost uncomfortable, genuine care. What makes Queen so fascinating is that she's hilarious and sincere. She is incredibly funny, but behind all the memes, Queen's motivation is deeply rooted in something kind of heartbreaking. She actually cares for people. I didn't really mention that in Chapter 1, but Rousey mentions how a darkness' only purpose is making lightness happy. And Queen technically does that. Just by controlling people and, taking over their minds to make them happy. And Queen has chosen Noelle as the perfect person to fulfill her plan. It's misguided in the extreme, and yet her efforts are weirdly sweet. And yet she's never malicious. She really believes she's doing the right thing. She's not evil, just terribly overbearing, in a way only a computer can be. And since Noelle does not step up to her, she keeps going. Queen is also a generally capable antagonist. She captures Bertley and becomes frighteningly close to winning. And despite her silliness, her boss fight, the Mecha Queen battle, is an incredible final battle. You literally control a giant robot you created in Chapter 1, fighting Queen in a showdown that's half Gundam and half rhythm minigame. It's absurd, over the top, and surprisingly emotional, especially when Noelle finally finds the courage to reject Queen's control. But even in defeat, Queen doesn't lash out. She steps down, accepts it, and even joins you at the very end. Queen might have started as a joke character, but she becomes one of the most nuisance, weirdly sympathetic, and unforgettable characters in the game. A villain that makes you laugh and think. Starting with Noelle, she's soft-spoken, anxious, and overly polite. But now we see the cracks underneath. We learn about her past, about her missing sister, Des. We also see her feelings towards others, her friendship with Chris, and her extreme crush on Susie. Then there's Bertley, who somehow becomes more annoying and more likable than in Chapter 1. At first, he's exactly what you expect. Arrogant, loud, and convinced he's the smartest person in every room. He challenges Chris to duels, lectures everyone, you get the picture. And funny enough, he also has a crush on Susie, which Noelle does not like. Even Queen avoids him at first, calling him annoying, and Berkeley. But the longer the chapter goes on, the more you see the person beneath. Bertley's not evil, he's just insecure. He tries so hard to be special, to be respected, that he overcompensates. He wants to be someone who matters, but he doesn't know how to do that without annoying everyone around him. And what's wild is, he kinda gets better. Bertley starts to listen. He does not improve instantly, but we realize how he wants to help. By the end of the chapter, Bertley has become not a hero, but someone trying to be better. And that growth is surprisingly satisfying. Both Noelle and Berdly are great examples of how Deltarune takes simple archetypes and slowly adds depth, nuance, and vulnerability. They're still funny, still exaggerated, but now they feel real. The struggles feel personal, and as of Chapter 2's end, they both still believe the whole thing might have just been a dream. But even so, it is a dream they will never forget. One of the biggest and most welcome additions is the Mercy Meter. In Chapter 1, you had to guess how close you were to sparing an enemy, or try every act until something worked. But in Chapter 2, you can now see exactly how much mercy you earned with each action. This small addition makes pacifist strategies far more readable and rewarding. You can plan your turns better, you can set up perfect sparing moments. It makes non-violence feel less like a guesswork and more like a genuine playstyle. And now, sparing enemies matters more than ever. In Chapter 2, if you spare an enemy instead of defeating it, you can recruit them. These recruits can then hang out back at Castletown in Dark World. It doesn't drastically affect the gameplay yet, but it adds personality to your actions. Your decisions have visible results. The world feels more lived in, like you're really building something. And all of that leads us perfectly into one of the most iconic fights in the entire game. Spamton is somehow, by far, the most unforgettable character in all of Deltarune. I know I'm saying this a lot, but I'm sorry, what am I supposed to do when Deltarune just has so many great characters? What starts as a little strange NPC in a back alley becomes a devastating, fourth wall breaking, incredibly disturbing character. At first, it's funny. His dialogue is absurd, his animations are chaotic, and attacks are funny. We learn that he used to live in Queen's mansion before getting kicked out. But when you take the deal and go into Queen's basement to find a disc you wanted, it gets more unsettling. You then get the disc, Spamton uploads himself on it, and you put it back where you found it. One of the most iconic boss battles, Spamton Neo. First, he is grateful that he's finally free, but he notices how he's still a puppet, and needs Chris's soul, aka you, to become truly free, which then starts the battle. Spamton Neo really isn't just a hard fight. He's huge, flashy, and devastating. And of course his theme, Big Shot, has become one of the most recognizable tracks in the game. A twisted, catchy, almost satirical anthem that perfectly captures Spamton's identity. It's all caps, it's loud, it's messy, it's perfect. After you defeat him, he admits defeat and joins your party by becoming an item, similarly to Jevil. After all of that, Deltarune winds down with one of the most lore-heavy and unsettling conclusion yet. It starts with the final moment after Queen admits defeat. Berdly, newly inspired by the adventure, suggests opening a dark fountain himself. But that's when Ralsei steps in and drops one of the biggest pieces of exposition in the game so far. The roaring. If too many dark fountains are opened, the balance between light and dark would collapse. The worlds will merge, and then something catastrophic will happen. The roaring is described like an apocalypse. Giant beasts, eternal darkness, the world devoured in shadow. And all of it ties back to the night. The mysterious figure who creates dark fountains. They're really behind everything, and we still don't know who they are. But then, after everything goes back to normal, we get the final cutscene. Late at night, Chris sneaks out of the window and slashes the tire of Toriel's car. Then Toriel calls the police, and you all go to sleep in the living room. Chris wakes up, turns on the TV, pulls out a knife, and... This ending raised so many questions. Is Chris the knight? Oh, okay, I can actually answer that already. No, he's not. Before that, Queen mentions how you can also open dark fountains by just being determined. So this really doesn't mean that Chris is the knight. It just means that Chris, for some reason, wanted to open one, and now we have this. So I don't think Chris is the knight. But who is the knight? What's going on with the TV? Pretty much, we have the same situations we had in Chapter 1. Well, I actually think that's almost everything. We talked about almost all of Chapter 2 with obviously some missing aspects, and I think overall it is a good chapter. So I really don't think there's anything else we need to talk about. Yeah, there's still that. The Snowgrave route, also known by some as the Weird route, is Deltarune Chapter 2's hidden alternative route. There are no obvious indicators, no flags, no achievements. You just have to actively do it yourself. Once Noelle joins the party, the player must backtrack. Despite Noelle asking Chris if it's the right way, the player forces her to cast Ice Shock over and over, freezing every enemy in the area. One by one, they go cold, permanently. They remain frozen in place, even if you leave and return. And Noelle, she becomes stronger. After you backtrack to go to Spamton's shop, you just have to interact with it, and then you enter the Snowgrave route. And even from here on out, you have to continue freezing every single enemy without messing up. If you mess up just one thing, you are locked out of the Snowgrave route. You have to actively do it. Choose the right decisions just to continue. If you do one mistake, you cannot do this route. Noelle justifies it by saying it is a good thing that she finally is able to become stronger and do things on her own. She's doing this for herself, she says. At one point, in the middle of the route, you meet one of the Madisons, who offers the freeze ring. It is too expensive, however, and Noelle doesn't want it. But you pressure her into accepting it anyways. And the Madison who offered the ring is gone. And you have it now. Once you then freeze all the enemies, you have to find a very hidden dumpster to sell you the Thorns ring. With it, Noelle's power increases completely. At one point, you meet Bertley, who wants to stop you. But now with the Thorns ring, you can, well... What the fuck? The Snowgrave route isn't just dark for shock value. It's deeply psychological. It explores manipulation and how someone can lose themselves when forced into trauma. The metaphors are not subtle. Noelle tries to rationalize what's happening, but the player, through Chris, is making all the choices. And Chris, of course, is being overwritten too, who very clearly doesn't want this. We get the choice to stop this, probably by Chris, and we just continue. Some like to say that this route is Chris's fault, but no, it is our fault. The player's fault. All of this happened because of us. This route is often read as a metaphor for gaslighting or emotional abuse. You're not making Noelle stronger. You're using her. She's scared. She doesn't understand. And eventually, she becomes implicit in her own pain. Even worse, no one ever talks about it afterwards. Yes, the game does progress faster, as Susie and Ralsei never find out about it. The game doesn't really punish you. It doesn't throw a bad ending screen or lectures you. When the chapter ends, nothing much changes. Noelle wakes up shaken. She says it felt like a nightmare. And Bertley? He's still asleep. Even when you leave. However, this route does still have a final battle. The final battle of this route is no longer a team effort against Queen. During the route, Queen still exists, but she's mourning. You even talk to her. She says Bertley's gone missing and Noelle isn't doing well. She seems generally worried. Ralsei comforts her and Susie goes to check on Noelle, while you close the fountain. Instead of Queen, your true final battle is Spamton Neo, who hijacks the story. Unlike the normal route, where Spamton is a side boss, here he becomes your final opponent. He intercepts you just before you can seal the fountain, forcing a one-on-one fight between him and Chris. This fight is much harder than the one in a normal route, because you are alone. You have to fight him alone. And when you finally weaken him down to about 10% of HP, his attack drop, his defense spike, and normal attacks barely deal any damage. You can't win through brute force. You have to call for help. First Ralsei. Nothing. Then Susie. Nothing. Then, finally, Noelle.
Her? You're still trying to use her? You think she can hear you now muttering her name? What's she gonna do? Make me an ice cream? Hey, is it cold in here or is it just me?
The screen cuts to black. But when the screen fades back, the fountain is sealed. Snowgrave, and also a lot of other aspects, make one thing clear. The message at the very beginning, that your choices don't matter, is wrong. Your choices do matter. That's what makes it effective. That's what makes Snowgrave terrifying. And that's gonna do it for the breakdown of Chapter 1 and 2. Chapter 1 gave us a fun, mysterious intro, a taste of what Toby Fox had planned. But Chapter 2, that's where everything clicked. Stakes got higher, the tone got darker, the writing, the pacing, the battles. Toby is building something deliberate, something that knows when to make you laugh, when to make you emotional, and when to haunt you. So many things are wrapped up in a really great game. Now my rating? Chapter 1 for me personally gets a 7.5 out of 10. A solid start, and it has great moments of very course, but it's very obviously just like a proof of concept, and I think it does that incredibly well. Chapter 2, however, is a 9.5 out of 10. Not even a question at all. It is great in every aspect, and technically speaking, I would even say a 10 out of 10, but for now, I don't really have a reason why I would give it a 10 out of 10, but maybe that will change. Overall, the game is an amazing 9 out of 10. And with Chapter 3 and 4 dropping on June 4th, who knows how great these will be. And yes, I will most likely review Chapter 3 and 4 if you like this video. Bye.